Rest in peace, Auntie Barbara.
Hey guys, top of the morning. So, today we're here to talk about The Night of the Living Dead, which came out in 1968 and it was directed by George Romero. Now, I am ashamed to say I didn't watch this movie until very recently, but I always saw clips, like little parts of the movie throughout the years growing up, primarily in Halloween 2. You know, with the ale rod, and Michael's in the background. He takes the knife, and it was on the TV. You know the part. This part.
They're coming to get you, Barbara.
Stop it! You're ignorant.
They're coming for you, Barbara.
Stop it! You're acting like a child.
They're coming for you. Look, there comes one of them now.
So that is where I first saw this movie. Well, snippets of this movie. And I always wondered whenever that scene came up, what movie is that? I never knew, but I always do remember paraphrasing. Like, coming to get you, Barbara. And not knowing where the fuck it came from, but shit. So at least now I do. So whenever I watched this movie and that clip came up, I was like, oh shit, this is where it's from. Okay. It's iconic. So, I mean, this movie was like way, way ahead of its time. This came out in 1968 when horror movies were only just becoming a thing, you know? Like past Frankenstein and the monster universe. And you had the lead actor whose name was Duane Jones. No, Dwayne Johnson. Johnson, yes, Johnson. Yeah. Got there in the end. I got there in the end. Which was a big deal because he was actually the first black male actor to lead in a horror movie. That was a pretty big deal back then. Like, you know, and remember, it was a different world back then, you know, compared to today. But yeah, he acted his ass off in this movie. In fact, he was probably one of my most favorite actors. And I think his character was very relatable. Like, if you get into a shit situation, first thing you're doing is boarding up the fucking windows, you know, which I really liked. He was very relatable. He was like a man's man, you know, which is cool. And then he ends up in an abandoned house with Barbara, who just lost her brother, Johnny. And, you know, I mean, whenever she first entered the house, she was looking out all the windows and she's grabbing a knife, and she was looking to, you know, looking for resources. And then suddenly she just shuts down. Whenever Ben comes, that's Dwayne Johnson's character. Not that Dwayne Johnson, different Johnsons. But whenever he comes, she just shuts down. She becomes probably one of the most pointless characters I've seen in a long time in a horror movie. She just sits in one spot and just like, fucking do something, dude. Oh, she's even going like that with a fucking zombie walking towards her in the background. Only for Ben getting rid of it. She would have been, her ass would have been ate. What the fuck, dude? But yeah, so her character was useless. And then whenever she did spring into action, she gets killed. Oh, fucking hell. But I will say about this movie, it's a very important movie. Like for horror, for the genre of horror. It's extremely important. And one thing I will say, which I did like about this movie, was they never used the word zombies. I mean, they mentioned it once in like a news report, but they don't actually refer to the undead as zombies, which I thought was really, really cool and realistic. Instead, they referred to them as ghouls. Again, I like it because, I know anybody can jump in and say, oh, yeah, someone comes back from the dead. We're really going to call them ghouls, aren't we? But remember, it was the late 60s, and I'm just glad they didn't jump into zombies like it was today. If that happened today, someone would shout zombie and hit him with a shovel or something, and then realize it was just a guy that was just sleepy. Anyway, the point is, getting off the mark here, I did like that, and I also liked how smart these zombies were, or ghouls, whatever we want to call them. They're extremely intelligent in this movie. I've never seen zombies so smart in a zombie movie. Like, you have one like where there's a car in front of a house, and they have the headlights beamed on, so that's giving light into the house. And they're so smart that they grab a brick and start smashing the headlights just to put the lights out. Little things like that make them more intelligent, and I think that's what also makes them even scarier. Because in reality, I've never really found zombies to be scary. Okay, yeah, it's a dead guy coming back out. But they always, any time I've ever seen them in zombies and like zombie movies, they're always pretty dumb. They're walking into walls and shit. They're fucking tripping over leaves and grass, and you could easily outrun them, So it was cool to see an intelligent variant of these zombies, these incarnations of them. So I really liked that. And all the characters in this movie are pretty good. Like, there is no bad character in this movie. You get Ben, who's like the everyman's man. He's in this house. I'm in charge now. You listen to me. I boarded this place up. You abide by my rules, which I liked. You get Barbara, who's practically part of the fucking furniture. She just sits there, does nothing. And then you get 4 characters that are hidden down in the basement that eventually come up. There's like a man, 2 men, 2 women, and then there's a little girl in the basement that's sick. And that's the reason they all hid down there, was to keep the little girl safe. So, of course, you get the stereotype. You get the guy who's like grouchy. He's like, this guy's going to get us killed. No, why are we listening to him? And then the wife is like, oh, you're being unreasonable. Then you get the younger couple, with the guy who's like, no, we should listen to this guy. He's got a good point. He's alive, ain't he? And then his girlfriend, who, is kind of forgettable. She doesn't really say much. But the whole plot was just... it was simple. It was simple but effective, And I should say, if you haven't seen this movie yet, it's on Shudder. That's where I watched it, and I will be talking about a spoiler at the end. So if you haven't seen it all these years later and you don't want to have it spoiled, go watch it and come back, and we'll talk about it. You can give your opinion in the comment section below about what you thought of this ending, because it was it was definitely pretty gnarly. But originally, though, the ending was intended to be different. It was actually meant to be a happier ending. That was the actual original plan for the movie's end. But Duane Johnson, no, not that one, said that he didn't want that ending. He didn't want a happy ending. He wanted, the ending that we did get, and his reasons, they're understandable. But yeah, I think it worked. I think a happy ending would have been cliche. It would have been, oh, well, of course, someone was going to survive, right? So it's a good way that it ended in like, okay, so not every horror movie has a good ending. That's good. That's fresh, especially for back then. But I'm going to talk about the ending now, so you've been warned. So all this shit happens. A lot of shenanigans happen, like they plan this thing where the car is out there so we can get out. Someone takes the zombies that way. Somebody goes up, starts the car. Then everybody jumps in. We get away. That never works. ends up a fire accidentally happens, and the whole fucking truck just explodes with the young couple in it. And so they're forced to go back to the house because of that. And fun fact, 3 people behind the scenes actually did get set on fire. Fun fact. And also a fun fact is, because this movie had such a low budget, they had to use like small resources, like say for blood, for example, they used either red ink or chocolate dye or something like that, chocolate syrup. That's what it was. Chocolate syrup. Chocolate syrup and red ink was used for blood in this movie, and they could get away with it because the movie was in black and white anyway. So So I like how they were thinking. It was pretty intelligent, So yeah. But anyway, so they get into a scuffle. The husband, because he was a dick throughout the whole movie, ends up getting himself shot because he tries to retaliate and take control. And to be fair, I saw what was going to happen a mile away. I knew that something was wrong with the kid, like a sick kid in the basement. And they were talking on the news about like anybody who's bitten or, in fact, they didn't even come across that it's bitten. They said it could have been nuclear type of significance that was causing this. So they didn't say, oh, if anybody gets bit, they turn, like today, stereotypical. But I think it was like nuclear catastrophe that caused it. And the girl, of course, she becomes a ghoul and she kills her mum. Then the husband comes down after being shot. He dies. And then the mum comes back after being fucking stabbed to death. And then, so the guy, Duane Johnson, not that one, damn it. He basically shoots the mom, shoots the kid, shoots that again, all in the head, just to make sure they're all dead. Barbara got taken away because the zombie version of Johnny comes back, and she's like, Johnny! Gets her ass pulled out, and you don't see her again. And the one time she's fucking lively and she gets killed. But he survives the night, he locks himself in the basement, and the next morning, the mayor of the town comes with all the police and starts shooting all the zombies and the ghouls. And Ben hears this and he runs up and he goes out with the gun, and of course they see him through the window. He has a gun. He's like that, like look and see who the fuck is, and they see him and they assume that he's a zombie, so they shoot him dead. And that's how the movie ends. It ends then with just like clip stills of like what happens next, him being carried out, thrown on the pile, burned along with the rest of them, but it's only in stills. You see that. So I thought it was way more effective than actually showing it. It was cool to showing it in pictures. I thought it was way more effective. But yeah, I mean, it's a shocking ending. Like for 1968 standards too, that must have been really shocking to see, like in the theaters. Like, so, I imagine it would have caused a bit of an uproar too. Like a colored guy like, being shot by like white folks. So, you can imagine. But again, it wasn't about color. It was just about, he's a human being. He's up. They assume he's a zombie. That's it. And George Romero himself stated, because there was loads of like conspiracies and fans asking, did they shoot him because he was black? Did they shoot him because he had a gun? Did they shoot him because they couldn't see? They thought he was a zombie? And George Romero, the director, openly came out and confirmed that no, they just shot him because they thought he was a zombie. That's it. So, obviously that is the case. But yeah, the whole ending was shocking. The whole movie was just, as I said, it was a simple concept, but it was executed very well. All the actors were really great. A bit overacted. Some of the acting is a bit, yeah. But again, it's perfectly fine for like late 1960s standards. Like, again, Barbara was a very pointless character. But apart from that, and I believe she was played by Judith O'Dea, who actually reprised her role as Barbara many, many years later in a movie that I don't think we're going to get. I mean, we were supposed to, but production chaos. But she reprised her role as Barbara later on. And we didn't get it. I mean, IDBM, or whatever you call it, hasn't put an update since 2018. I mean, last I looked, but yeah. So I don't know how, if we had had that, how she would have survived. Because to our knowledge, I mean, she was pulled out and all the zombies are piled, so we can only assume she was eaten. But yeah, part of me is kind of glad we didn't get that. It's just leave that where it is. There's no need to revisit her character. I mean, you know. But yeah, anyway, so this movie, it was really good. And if you haven't seen it yet, I totally recommend it. It's on Shudder right now. So if you have time tonight and you don't know what to watch, want to watch a decent horror movie or a zombie flick, throw this one on. I'm telling you, it holds up and it's just overall enjoyable, and black and white or whatever. I think the black and white, because it's in black and white, makes it scarier, and it makes it more effective. Some movies are scarier without color. So yeah, that's what I thought of the movie. It was great overall, great act, well acted by everybody, and it holds up. And yeah, fuck yeah. I mean, come on, zombies. That's cool. So if you watch it this far, thank you very much. I appreciate it, and I appreciate all of you. And thank you so much for watching. Means a lot. And as always, don't kill anyone.